Captain's log, stardate 57931.4. The crew is restless. After spending too many months piecing our ship back together, we're finally about to venture out on a new mission. And the crew isn't letting this unprecedented ion storm slow them down. They're ready for something different. I know I am. Perhaps more than any of them. Fortunately, nothing ever stays the same. It's entropy, the nature of the universe. Change is inevitable. And while entropy says order gives way to chaos, in this case, change is good. Our new first officer is en route to the Resolute. Jara Rydak. I know she'll bring a welcome dose of new blood to the crew.
Thanks.
No problem.
I'm not great with flying. But these little shuttles are the worst.
You don't like flying. Yet, you joined Starfleet.
There's a reason I'm not a pilot.
You should try it sometime.
Sorry, I'm a little anxious.
I hadn't noticed.
I'm on my way to my first assignment. When we get to the starbase, I'm transferring on to the Resolute.
So am I.
It won't be easy for Jara to step in at the 11th hour like this. But if she's half the officer I knew she could become when she was a cadet at Starfleet Academy, she'll be the XO this ship needs right now.
A starbase on the very edge of Federation space. A long way from home now.
Commander? I'm not usually such a nervous wreck, by the way. I actually did well at the Academy.
Oh yeah?
Maybe you've heard of the Torvalin test?
Sounds familiar.
It's a tactical simulator that makes the Kobayashi Maru look like a picnic on Pintaris 5. Anyway, I finished in the top 20. Not just in my class. I mean, all time. In the history of the Academy. So, there's that.
Really? That's quite impressive.
Thank you. It was tough. But you know, I set my mind to it and it paid off.
Please place your hand here. Hold it there for a few seconds. Welcome, Commander Rydak.
Wait, you're Jara Rydak? You absolutely crushed the Torvalin test. You finished in what, like the top 3?
That would be me.
Now I'm really... It's an honor to meet you, Commander. Sorry, I didn't realize before. I just came off the shuttle and was glad to be on solid ground, so to speak.
The pleasure's mine, Ensign.
Paul Calloway.
Good to meet you.
I believe Commander Ummat is expecting you. He's in the concourse just ahead.
See you on the Resolute.
Good day, Commander.
If I remember my briefing, Commander Ummat is a Bolian, so I'm looking for someone with blue skin. Starbase 128 has 4 docks. Excuse me.
You hear the Resolute's getting a new first officer?
Someone from the crew got promoted?
No, get this. They're from a different ship.
Oof. Wonder how the crew feel about that.
Makes them look desperate. Is their crew that bad?
Yeah, not a good look.
Welcome to the edge of the galaxy, Commander Rydak. I'm Commander Jan Ummat, Operations Officer on the Resolute. Commander? I hope there wasn't too much trouble getting here. This storm isn't making anything easy for us right now. I know conditions are less than ideal at the moment.
It was a bit bumpy, but otherwise okay.
My apologies. This storm is unlike anything I've seen before. We're grateful you were able to come fill our first officer vacancy at such short notice. From everything I've read and everything I've heard, we're lucky you were available to us. Coming from a premier starship and all. To our local research vessel.
What exactly have you heard about me?
First in your class at the Academy. Received the Starfleet Award of Valor during the Dominion War. Most recently, Tactical Officer and Chief of Security on the USS Endeavor.
You've done your homework?
Like I said, we're very lucky. The USS Resolute. She may not look like much compared to the bigger ships, but as far as science vessels go, she can more than hold her own. And she doesn't look so bad considering 6 months ago she was nearly cracked in half, venting plasma, fighting for her life.
It was an accident?
The equipment malfunctioned. An accident suggests fault, but no one's to blame. It was a planned test, but the warp core was pushed beyond its limits. It destabilized the dilithium, there was a runaway reaction, and the warp bubble deformed. We thought we could reach a higher resonant frequency, but it was more than she could handle. Cost us our first officer and 22 of our crew. At the end of the day, we're all responsible for each other. That's what it means to be a crew.
I can't even begin to imagine what that must have been like for you. I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. It does weigh heavy. There are some things you can't forget.
It's been 6 months. What's the attitude among the crew now?
Unsettled. But I hope that a new mission will help them move forward. If not, move on. Listen. I realize you've known Captain Solan for quite some time, and I'm sure you're ready to bring your best. But I should warn you that when the captain announced you would be the new first officer, there were those who felt it was a mistake, that he should have promoted from within. So you might want to tread lightly at first. Until they come to value your contributions as much as he does.
Thank you. Always good to have a sense for what you're walking into.
I just thought you ought to know.
I appreciate it.
Starfleet has assigned us a high-priority mission to the Hotari region. I'll let the captain brief you on board. I know he's eager to see you.
Will we be mission ready in time?
We have every intention.
The crew has been working around the clock to get the ship ready. There's still so much to do.
Stuck. I got just the thing. Is that.
I thought the thing was totally fried. Nice work, Carter.
Nothing to it, Millie.
And not a moment too soon. The boss wants us down in engineering. Like, now.
Engineering.
I heard the new XO just arrived. Won't be long before we get underway. I just hope whatever Chovok called us down for, it's something good. I can never tell with him. I'd rather not end up degaussing plasma manifolds. Hanging upside down makes me queasy.
Orders are orders, Millie. You know what they say? There are no small missions. Every expedition has a purpose.
Even if we don't know what it is yet. Looks like we got here before.
Lieutenant Commander Chovok.
We were just looking for you, Commander.
Petty Officers Ed Solar, Diaz, I was beginning to think you would be late. We are all hands on deck right now, which means if you are not at your post at the appointed time, I do not have someone to replace you. A point I have been forced to make to Petty Officer Etzelar on repeated occasions.
Apologies for the delay, Commander.
I do not want your apologies. Simply see to it that it does not happen again.
So, I don't suppose you wanted us down here to check in before we go off duty?
Equip yourselves in EV suits to work on the exterior of the hull. I need you to tune the structural integrity field for optimal performance. The subspace distortions and ionic interference we are experiencing are preventing the proper calibration. But this ship must be ready to depart shortly, despite the storm. The precise nature of these disturbances are not fully understood. But many systems have been affected by the wide band of emissive activity.
Whatever it throws at us, we'll be ready. We've got the best chief engineer in the fleet.
I am a Vulcan, Mr. Diaz. Flattery is not necessary. All that I require is that you do your job. Right now, that entails critical preparations, because long-range sensors show that these disturbances will be more severe at our destination, the Hotari system. You have your orders. Do not delay.
Yes, Commander
that.
Chovak. All hands on deck.
Oh, what's that?
All hands on deck. That's what Chovak said. You know what that means? It means this ship isn't ready to go out and the brass know it. So they're throwing every warm body at it. And they're going to leave on schedule. Consequences be damned.
Won't get an argument from me, Nelly. Sure seems like everyone's still scrambling.
And I get it. When has a relaunch ever gone off without a hitch? But this isn't just any old refit or any old relaunch.
Oh, whoa.
Excuse me.
A lot of new faces coming on board. It's gotta be tough coming as a replacement. That's for sure.
They seem all right. Something that happened 6 months ago while they were off on another ship? Well, that's nothing to hold against them.
Yeah, you're right. I guess getting a little new blood on board doesn't hurt. Hold on. Now there's an old face I didn't expect to see again. Hey, Miranda!
You weren't gonna leave without me, were you?
Miranda, you're here?
We thought you were staying on the Adirondack.
Transfer came in at the last minute, so I figured I'd slum it on this bucket of bolts. Looks like you got her back together pretty nicely. I wasn't sure what to expect.
I'm gonna take the high road here, pretend you didn't say that, and welcome you aboard.
He's a better diplomat than I am.
He still owes me a bottle of Saurian brandy. Don't think I forgot.
Oh yeah, it's coming back to me now.
Maybe Carter can rustle up that bottle and we can give you a proper welcome. As soon as we wrap up this quick little spacewalk.
Here, let me help you.
Thanks.
So what's the word? Are you back in the security rotation?
Yep. Still running with the usual suspects.
Whoa.
Good to go. See you on the other side.
Activating magnetic souls. Never gets old.
Let's go.
Captain Solano should be here momentarily. You'll have to forgive me, I don't know much about Kobleods. But my understanding is you need a steady supply of duridium to keep your cell structure stabilized, or bad things start to happen. And we have plenty of duridium in sickbay, so there's no risk of running out.
Thank you.
Feel free to make yourself at home. And help yourself to whatever you like from the replicator.
I can't believe he keeps this around. Don't even know where mine is. He's still got a thing for trains. The warp engines of their day, apparently. Just a sip of something. Rack the Geno. That sure has a kick.
Jara Rydak. Last time I saw you, it was graduation from the Academy. You'd already secured one of the most prestigious assignments possible. And you were burning with enough ambition to fuel 7 trips around the Necrid Expanse.
It's good to see you again, Captain.
I could not be happier to have you on the Resolute. The only regret is that we couldn't provide you with a warmer welcome. The arrival of a first officer to her new ship deserves a bit of fanfare. But, unfortunately, we've had our hands full with the refit.
That would be totally unnecessary. I don't need any pomp and circumstance.
You've been here all of 5 minutes, and already you're trying to make us more efficient. I like it. As I'm sure you've heard, we've had a rough go of it these last 6 months. The ship suffered some damage, but not nearly as much as the crew.
I heard that you had an equipment malfunction.
Is that what they're calling it? No, that's just someone being generous. If anything, it was a leadership malfunction. We were on the verge of a major scientific breakthrough. A quantum leap forward in warp core technology. 10,000 teradynes per second. The ability to travel at a sustained rate of speed longer and faster than we ever dreamed. What would have been the crowning achievement of my career. Right there, within our grasp. Until it all went so horribly wrong. We pushed her too hard, and a warp core malfunction overloaded the system, creating a pressure gradient way beyond what the ship can handle. It was heartbreaking. We lost some of our best people. As captain, I have to take full responsibility. It was my decision to make, and I have to live with the consequences.
We all know the risks when we sign up. There are no guarantees, as much as we tell ourselves otherwise.
True. But as captain, my job is to mitigate and manage the risks as much as possible. And that's where I failed. In my defense, I will say, I might have avoided the whole ordeal if my senior staff had been willing to trust me. There was a lot of pushback from my former XO, and I think that cost me his confidence. I don't want you to pull any punches. Certainly not on my account. But once we decide on a course of action, I need everyone to fully commit to the mission. Anything short of that just won't work. And that's when things start to go sideways.
Whether I agree or disagree, I can promise that I'll be honest to a fault.
Good. That's exactly what I'm looking for. But at the end of the day, it has to be my call. Look, I'll be blunt. We can't afford another mistake. Or at least, I can't. I feel like my career is hanging in the balance here. We need a win. Something to restore the crew's confidence.
I understand.
On a more positive note, Starfleet has tasked us with what they're calling a mission of the highest priority. Escorting a senior diplomat to Hotari space. Two previously peaceful and otherwise non-aggressive civilizations now find themselves on the brink of all-out war.
So it's a peacekeeping mission.
I see it as a golden opportunity to not only prove what the Resolute and her crew are truly capable of, but also a mission for which we're uniquely qualified. This ionic storm. Our long-range sensors suggest it's several orders of magnitude stronger than anything on record. A total anomaly like nothing we've seen before. And you'll never guess where it leads.
Hatari.
Exactly. Very nearly in the precise location where we're headed. Where I imagine the interference will be exponentially greater. But the diplomat will brief us on the details at the rendezvous.
But are we prepared to embark on the mission?
As much as I'd like to think that's true, I have my doubts. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I expect we'll have some rough sledding when we arrive, so I need you to prepare the crew for the worst. There's just one more thing I want to clarify up front. The metric that, for me, will be the ultimate measure of your success.
What is it?
If after serving as my first officer, you don't one day find yourself with a ship of your own, then I will consider it my personal failure. When that might happen is entirely up to you. But it goes without saying, you have my full support.
It's been a dream of mine since before I can remember. So I would be honored to become a captain someday.
As long as you're willing to do the work, you have my promise. I'll do everything in my power to see that it happens.
Thank you.
Come. Let me introduce you to the crew. Everyone, if I could have your attention for a moment. I'd like to introduce Commander Jara Rydak, our new first officer. Some quick introductions. This is Lieutenant Handar, our helmsman, one of the best in the business.
One of?
Well, what he lacks in humility, he more than makes up for in ability.
Pleasure to meet you, Commander.
Likewise.
Next, we have Commander Westbrook, our Chief Science Officer. I've come to rely on his expert counsel on a regular basis.
Pleasure.
Commander Rydak, it is such an honor to meet you.
This is our Tactical Officer, Lieutenant Bedrosian, who's been looking forward to meeting you for about as long as I can remember.
I've been following your career for quite some time. And I look forward to learning as much as I can from you.
You've heard of me?
Well, I have to admit, one of the reasons I've followed your career is because you're part Kobliad, because of what you've overcome. Starfleet stands up for people who can't defend themselves, and you were one of those people once. But since then, you've done so much to protect others who need it. I really admire that. So, you've been something of an inspiration to me. Not that I've done anything close to what you've done, but you definitely set a standard to strive for.
I don't know what to say. That's incredibly flattering, thank you.
I hope someday I can follow in your footsteps.
I'm sure you will.
And then, of course, you've already met Commander Ummat. Please, do everything you can to make Commander Rydak feel at home here. I'll be on the starbase. Have an urgent meeting with the starbase commander to get our authorization to get underway. If they drag their feet any longer, we won't make our rendezvous. Bridge is yours.
Commander, Chief Engineer Chovak needs to lower the structural integrity field. He's sent a crew out to recalibrate the emitters in response to the danger posed by the storm. We just need your go-ahead.
Mission granted.
Lowering structural integrity field, now.
Entering maintenance mode. Condition blue.
The storm is getting worse.
Looks like they turned off the SIF.
Great. Let's get to that emitter. Every time we're out here, I half expect to see her in pieces again.
She's still got some scars on her. It adds character.
When I joined Starfleet, all I wanted was a ride out of town. But this isn't exactly how I pictured it.
On the outside of the ship?
No. Sometimes it feels like we're just part of the machinery. Don't you want more than that? I mean, Starfleet is noble and all, but it's still a machine. A massive, massive machine.
Yeah, of course I do. Starfleet's an open door. We just have to walk through it. You wanted to get away. I enlisted because I didn't want to wait years just to get out and see the galaxy. I wanted to go somewhere. See new worlds. Look up at a sky no one's ever seen before. Just because I'm cranking a hyperspanner up in a Jeffries tube today doesn't mean that's all I'll ever be. Diaz to Commander Chovak. We are at the SIF emitter.
Acknowledged. You may proceed with the recalibration.
Beginning recalibration.
Careful. Too much action and harmonics will deflect the alignment.
Looks good. That wasn't so hard.
Commander Westbrook, right? Chief Science Officer.
You remembered my name and my rank. Impressive. Yes, I'm the Chief Science Officer, and I have the dubious honor of being the most senior officer on this bridge. I know this ship inside and out. Better than just about anyone.
You seem to think very highly of yourself.
With good reason. I'm curious, though. A Kobliad, or half in your case, is an odd choice for first officer, given your vulnerable condition and all. But if, as an example, we found ourselves in a hostile situation, and you were suddenly incapacitated because you needed an infusion, what would happen then? You'd leave Captain Solano without an XO. Granted, that would be a worst-case scenario, but not outside the realm of possibility.
That's very kind of you to be concerned about my well-being. But you don't need to trouble yourself on my account. I'll be fine.
Well, I wouldn't say I was concerned, just curious, that's all. Listen, can I be blunt, Commander?
I see no reason to stop now.
Commander Sutherland, your predecessor, was one of the best first officers in all of Starfleet. His record was impeccable and his reputation was without equal. I mean no disrespect, but the shoes you're stepping into are almost impossible to fill. He was loved by the crew, and he was one of my closest friends. So I can only hope that you'll live up to expectations.
I don't think I could ever replace Commander Sutherland. And it would be a mistake to even try.
Seeing as Captain Solano is on the starbase, let me give you an update on this ion storm we're flying into. It's unusual, unlike anything I've ever seen. At the moment, I can't tell you if the Resolute will shrug it off or if we're putting ourselves at risk. However, if we learn more about its patterns, its nature, we can come up with a scientific countermeasure. Just a moment.
We've got a massive energy wave inbound.
On screen.
Tracing its trajectory. Starbase docking clamps are holding.
The storm's emissions are fluctuating, coming in waves. And if my projections are right, we're about to get hit by a wide-band burst of ionic energy, like a tsunami.
I'm reading power abnormalities all over the ship.
Estimated time to impact, 2 minutes.
Red alert!
Aye. Evacuating main gangway and retracting.
Putting sensor visualization on screen.
With the structural integrity field shut down, we can't take a direct hit.
Time to impact, 1 minute.
Shield systems are severely impacted. We have limited protection.
I need every available solution. What are our options?
We can weaken the impact of the storm with a deflector pulse.
There's a better way.
I'm sending all auxiliary power to the deflector dish.
Send the aux power to the shields. We can't reactivate the entire shield bubble, but it's a directional threat. So we can orient all we have towards the wave. You have to believe me.
We only get one shot at this. We can't afford to get it wrong.
That's right, which is why we need to send power to our shields.
Bedrosian, get those shields up.
Rerouting power to shields. Stand by. I need a heading. We've only got one shot.
Understood. On my command.
Heading locked.
Raise shields.
This is it!
All hands, brace for impact.
What happened?
We have experienced a surge of radiation.
Oh, you don't say.
This radiation supercharged the plasma, forcing it to backflush through the system and creating a dangerous imbalance.
That can blow out every primary system on the ship.
Just tell us where you need us.
I need you to traverse the hull to the access port to recalibrate the port nacelle plasma regulator.
We've reached the first access point.
Understood. Do you see the override for the level 1 failsafe circuits?
Affirmative.
Engage the override. It should allow us to stop the EPS flow to the warp engine without triggering an automatic core shutdown.
Failsafe override engaged.
Are you sure? I am registering some crosstalk in the bypass circuit.
We need to route the signals so they don't interfere with each other.
Diaz to Resolute. The failsafes are temporarily disabled. Moving on to the EPS regulator.
Heads up, Carter.
What is that?
One of the discharges coalesced.
It's coming right toward us. I'm gonna try to disrupt it with my phaser.
So we gotta climb up the pylon. Not that there's really an up, but, you know.
We're at the regulator. Opening the access panel.
Now halting the EPS flow to the port nacelle. We have little time before it causes an overload in the engine. You must work efficiently.
EPS manifold adjusters reset to neutral. EPS lines to the port warp engine are back in balance. Almost done. Once I cycle the manifold nozzles, Chovak can... docking clamp. We've got a lot of debris coming down. Hull vibrations, too. We can't finish the EPS regulation in these conditions. Please advise.
We have to release the ship from that other docking clamp or the hull will be ripped apart.
There's a problem. The clamps are supposed to disengage automatically in an emergency, but it's not working.
Not working?
What are our options?
The docking clamps are fitted with exploding bolts for an emergency release.
We've got crew out there. That'd be like setting off a bomb next to them.
Maybe there's another way.
Starbase is hailing us.
Put him through.
Resolute, the remaining mooring arm is failing. You need to disengage from the starbase now. The damage to the station will be catastrophic.
We have crew outside and are looking for the safest way to...
We have people on this station. If that mooring arm breaks, we could lose dozens of crew.
Commander, hear me out.
reverse the polarity of the hull, which theoretically will repel the docking clamps.
And repel the engineering crew right off the hull into the storm.
This is Captain Solan. Put me on screen.
Go ahead. Captain, we have a situation.
Commander, what are you doing? Blow the bolts on the docking clamp.
The captain doesn't know the whole story.
I'm giving you an order. Jara?
Captain, you brought me here because you trusted me. Can you trust me now?
You better be sure you make the right decision.
The captain made himself quite clear.
They're gonna get hammered with debris out there. Reverse the polarity.
There is protocol.
And there are lives.
What is the holdup?
We're going to blow the bolts. Starbase, stand by. We'll warn our crew to take cover.
Get it done, Rydak.
Repair crew, this is Acting Captain Jara Rydak. Be advised, you have more micro-debris incoming. Find cover.
Cover? Lily! Get under the access panel. It's armored with duranium.
But what about you? Carter, maybe we can both fit behind this. They've blown the other docking clamp. Hurry!
Plasma imbalance is reaching critical condition. We are moments from primary system failure.
I got it.
Look out!
I got you. Petty Officer Edselar's hurt and unconscious. I'm gonna have to tow her back to the airlock.
Mr. Diaz, the situation has changed. You are at risk of triggering a substantial electromagnetic arc if you approach the main hull the way you came.
But Commander, the way we came is the nearest airlock.
There is an auxiliary hatch near you on the far end of the pylon. You must bring Miss Edselar there to access the interior.
Roger that. Going there now. I'm at the auxiliary hatch.
You go first.
What?
Let me save your neck this time. No time to fight me on this. Get in there.
Not on your life.
Let's not let it come down to that. We made it.
They're safe. Bringing the SIF fully online.
Do it.
Nilly.
I'm good. Help me with him.
Let's get this off. Medical. Got one wounded at my location. Carter. You don't look so good. You gotta be more careful. I just got here. I'm not ready to see you two get blown to space dust just yet. Now let's get you down to sickbay.
Great.
Status report.
The repair crew made it inside. EPS flow is back to nominal levels. The SIF is back up.
How does this affect mission readiness, Mr. Ummat?
The Resolute suffered damage from the exploding bolts. But we've successfully moored to the station. The ship is secure. Our systems are coming back online, but we have a fair amount of repairs before we're ready to go.
Put a halt on the roll-off of Starbase engineering staff. We have a schedule to keep. Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydak, with me. What a debacle. I was caught with my pants down. Not even on my own ship when the wave hit. I had to go running out of the Starbase commander's office just to... But you followed my order. I appreciate that. Hell, I'm relieved.
The crew executed your orders, and they would have done so without me there. I'm sure of it.
Well, that's a generous assessment. I'm not sure to whom. But you see my problem, don't you? They were all against me on that bridge. And they were ready to go against my orders. I'm not blind to it.
I think you're wrong about that. You still have the respect of the crew, and we have bigger things to deal with. We have a high-priority mission ahead of us and a lot to do to get ready.
We're going to have a pretty big problem if I can't count on the bridge staff. To say nothing of the rank and file. Oh. Drink?
Sure. Thank you.
Your predecessor, Commander Sutherland, is missed. But for all the adoration of the crew, including the senior staff, I just couldn't rely on him. He would question, undermine me in front of the crew. I sometimes think they still hear his voice. That sort of thing is a way of lingering. And you can't argue with a ghost.
Maybe it's you, not the crew, that still hears the voice of Commander Sutherland. You need to let go of it.
I don't know. Maybe I am holding them back.
How can you or the crew move forward that way?
You're right. Now, this won't be easy. But I'm glad I have you here with me.
Glad to be here, Captain.
And despite it all, we got our final Starfleet clearance to depart. So if you'll fetch Mr. Ummat, we'll knock out the final details of any outstanding repairs, and then we'll set out for Hotari.
Yes, sir.
Ready or not, here we go.
All departments reporting full mission readiness. We've got our full complement on board.
This is my favorite moment, right now.
The start of a new mission is always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit. Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
Docking clamps released.
Thrusters ahead, Mr. Handar. Do it. Set a course for the Hotari system. Prepare to go to Warp 8.
Hi, Captain.
You know what? You take this one.
Me? Engage.
Simple, but effective.
Easy.
Thank you. I'm fine. Really,
You don't look so good.
I have to get to sickbay.
Go.
Commander, help me get her inside!
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on him, but He'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your duridium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer. To be honest, I've never met a Kobliad before. You're
rare. I know.
I was going to say special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the duridium you need to survive. Yet you joined Starfleet and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
It does make me unique, but it's not a burden at all. I'm honored to be Kobliad, to represent my people.
As you should be. And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to admit. He's overstressed, operating in the pressure cooker of his own mind. Which is never a good headspace when the lives of your crew are at stake. What concerns me is that now he's even further away from the thing he's been chasing his entire career. Breakthrough discovery. The major innovation. Something he can put his name on. The more the time passes and the further out of reach it gets, the more risk he'll be willing to take. People become blinded by their own ambition. I've seen it happen before.
I hear you. But that's my job, isn't it? To make sure that doesn't happen. And we don't lose sight of the bigger picture.
Which is exactly why I'm so glad you're here. We need you now more than ever. I have to admit, I was concerned when I heard what happened on the bridge. You just followed Solano's orders despite having better options in front of you.
Huh. I guess word travels fast around here.
It's a small ship, and everyone's curious about the new XO. Fortunately, your cell structure's almost completely stabilized. And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Understood.
Then, my work here is done.
Lieutenant Bedrosian.
I came to see if you were okay. We were all pretty worried on the bridge. No one knew what was happening.
I'm feeling much better. Thank you. It's just part of who I am.
You don't have to explain to me. I understand. I'm just glad you're okay. You trusted me earlier with the shields, and I appreciated that. I want you to know that I have your back.
Thank you.
Now, Carter, the emissions that gave you that burn are quite unusual, like everything else that goes with this storm. That's a combination of hyronolin and lectrozine to counter the radiation effects. That should help speed your healing. She's come by a couple of times to see you already. Be brief.
It's good to see you awake again. I was starting to get worried. Not that you aren't in good hands with Dr. Duval. You did take one hell of a shot, though.
I hear you've been checking in on me. Thanks for that.
One of the benefits of working a security rotation. Lots of opportunities to walk by sickbay and stop in. Millie was looking in on you too, by the way. But since it's just us right now, I had a chance to think about this while I was away. And I thought it was important that I just come out and tell you. Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse, leaving it unsaid.
Now, this is just a guess, but you like me. Is that what this is?
How'd you know? Must have been pretty obvious. Which is funny, because kinda came out of nowhere for me, at first.
You didn't exactly hide it.
I wasn't exactly trying to hide it. But since it's that obvious, we've been really good friends for a long time. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is? If it's there for you, and it's there for me, why not give it a try?
Are you kidding me? I just said yes.
I wanted to be sure I heard that right.
Sorry to interrupt, but the patient needs to rest if he wants to get back to his old self.
Of course. I'll see you again soon.
Approaching the rendezvous point outside Atari space.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Ionic interference surging, Captain.
Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydak, find us our diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain. Let's reduce the noise. Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types. I've located the shuttle.
Opening comm.
On screen.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering. Losing.
I can't get it any clearer.
We won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Come on, Diaz. First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation. We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it. That's gonna take out the shuttle. It's the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Commander Rydak, plot an intercept course.
On it. Here we go. Maneuvering thrusters bearing 53 Mark 17. 200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Got it.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge. The shuttlecraft on board.
Good job. We're on our way down to meet them.
Terra firma, so to speak.
Ambassador Spock. The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Well, let me be the first to say, welcome to the Resolute, Ambassador.
Thank you, Petty Officer...
Carter? Carter Diaz. Sir.
I am pleased to meet you, Petty Officer Carter Diaz. It appears I have you to thank for my safe arrival. Your assistance arrived not a moment too soon, if I may say so.
You're very welcome, sir. I'm glad we could get you here in one piece.
Indeed. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Otari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all, even though our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
I'd rather investigate than speculate.
A sound principle.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical, Petty Officer Diaz. Thank you.
Ambassador Spock.
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind. Ambassador Spock, my senior staff. It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solan. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. Not the most diplomatic choice of words.
We're all curious about the future, Ambassador. Specifically, what exactly are we getting involved in here?
We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Lydia and Hotari. The Lydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Illidians have shared a mining operation there. The Illidians provide the technological resources, while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Illidians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
Have the Illidians retaliated against the Hotari? Or taken any action against them?
Surprisingly, they have not yet responded in kind. They were open to a Federation presence, but it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Illidian fleet in open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly, the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
That is correct.
The Hotari just won their independence. It's hard to believe they would give that up just for profit.
I agree. It would be exceedingly difficult to bring the Hotari to that position.
Neither the Illidians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Illidians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
So we've already played a part in this.
Unfortunately, that is indeed the case, Commander Rydak.
We're morally obligated to make this right.
Hold on. Our only obligation is to negotiate the peaceful resolution of this conflict.
Given the Federation's involvement in the Illidium dilithium trade, Captain Solan and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the Ion Storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Illidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
That may answer why the Hotari were able to strike back after so long. They finally had an opportunity, and they took it.
That would also explain the Illidians' restraint.
And reason to learn as much about the energy anomaly as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught at a disadvantage of our own. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydak.
Commander, as you are aware, There are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydak could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly goes her own way. Maybe that helps in this case. It would be unconventional, but I'm not opposed to it.
I'm perfectly happy to work outside the lines.
And by extension, you will be doing your duty, Commander.
Just not too far outside the lines. Well, I hope Commander Rydak will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace may very well depend on it.
Mr. Diaz, I understand you have already discussed the warp drive failure with Ambassador Spock?
I have.
It is imperative that the Ambassador's shuttle be flight ready. I need you both to ascertain the root cause of the system failures he encountered.
I'm surprised, Commander. I thought you would have wanted to work on Ambassador Spock's shuttle yourself.
I respect the Ambassador and his many accomplishments, but I do not derive any satisfaction from interacting with his shuttle as if it were somehow transubstantiated through its association with him. Especially when I have the entirety of this starship to concern myself with. I am not the chief engineer of this shuttlecraft.
The Ambassador asked me to take a look, and I'm ready to crack this thing open.
Good. You could learn from Mr. Diaz's focus.
I'll take notes.
Then I will leave you to it. Make note of any abnormalities in your report. Carry on.
It seems like he's warming up to us.
Yeah.
Even Chovok has to look at that face and know you've earned some real respect. And I have to admit that I owe you one. You were right to make me go first. I don't know what I was thinking. You did the smart thing.
You've pulled me out of trouble how many times? Call it even.
Okay. At the very least, maybe I can track down that bottle of Saurian brandy you're still on the hook for. But first, we have work to do.
Ready to go?
All set. Let's run the diagnostic. So, I know about your talk with Miranda.
You do?
She sent me a Priority 1 dispatch right after your conversation. I'm happy for you. Both of you.
Thanks.
But I'm only going to tell you this once. Don't screw this up. Because I would be very unhappy if you tried this out and then, I don't know, 6 weeks or 6 days later, I have to start splitting holidays between the two of you. All because things went south and you're not on speaking terms. That just isn't gonna work for me. And I know you'll respect that.
That's not gonna happen, okay? And why are you even going there? We haven't even gone on a date yet.
I just want you to know where I stand. I like my friends and I like our group. I don't want to lose that. Is that thing done?
Yeah, it's wrapping up. Let's see. The relays along the primary EPS are blown. The backup relays are all intact.
An EPS overload from the warp drive could cause that. But how did the shuttle end up dead in the water?
Huh. Well, maybe the ship's data recorder can tell us something.
Here.
They were only about 8 minutes from their plotted warp point. No faults, just those warnings. What are they?
The warp field became inverted suddenly.
I've seen this happen when the center warp coil cracks.
A cracked warp coil throws a fault code.
Still, we should take a look.
Subspace variance out of tolerance. What does that mean?
It means the main navigation array lost sight of space somehow.
Will the array going offline cause that?
Yes, but it should have also thrown a fault code.
There was a complete warp cascade failure.
Wow. They're lucky the shuttle didn't turn inside out.
Makes me think the computer panicked on the warp field equation.
Any one of these failures should have thrown a fault.
If it was caused by a system failure.
None of this caused the relays to blow. Roll forward to when that happened.
Yes, ma'am.
So here, they take a moment to get their bearings and they attempt to re-engage the warp drive.
There. That's the relays blowing.
And look, there's another warp system alert.
They're all the same. Subspace variance out of tolerance, or warp inversions. Finally, there's a complete warp cascade failure.
Then it's one of two things. Either a warp coil is cracked, or the navigation array is offline.
That makes sense.
Divide and conquer. You want to check the warp coils or the navigation array? I'll check the other. Let's not overcomplicate this. One of these systems is likely broken.
I'll check the navigation array. Navigation array checks out, so it must be a coil.
Except it's not. Checked and double-checked.
Well, the readings don't lie.
Here comes the security detail for the way team.
Hey.
I'm not here.
We're escorting the negotiating team to the surface as soon as they come down from the bridge. I don't want to interrupt some important work. I was just hoping to see you before I go. The captain and the others will be here any minute now. Should be an interesting ride down to the surface.
Come on, I'm never too busy to make time for you.
That's not true.
No, but I am glad you came by.
No, that's more accurate.
I gotta be precise with you, huh?
Hey, Maris. Aren't these those button pushers you're always hanging out with?
And you're the phaser jockeys we always beat in Parisi squares, right?
All aboard for Hotari.
That another one of the captain's railroad things?
Gotta be. I just usually zone out by the time he gets to the whole, steam engines were the warp drives of their day part. Catch y'all later.
You don't want to miss your train.
I do have to go. Not gonna lie, I'd rather not leave right now. More important things on my mind. That was nice.
Yeah, it was.
Save some of that for when I get back.
You got a deal.
Be seeing you.
Quetzallar de Diaz. If you could float back down to reality, we still have a ways to go. All right, where were we?
So, the warp coils in the navigation array are fine, but the nav computer doesn't seem to think so.
I'm out of ideas short of field stripping the shuttle from bow to stern.
You wanna take this out of the shuttle and throw it on the bench?
Oh, real hands-on maintenance. I like it. Okay, the nav computer is patched into the ship.
The ship's computer can double-check our work. If the shuttle's nav computer is putting out false data, we'll know it.
Let's run through the shuttle's logs again.
Running now. Same. Warp field inversion and a cascade failure. However, the Resolute computer doesn't show the same subspace variance.
We're in the same conditions that the shuttle was in when it failed. Why wouldn't the ship's computer get a matching result?
What if the subspace variance was a momentary occurrence?
That's a possibility, and it would explain why the simulation under our current sensor readings failed to reproduce the issue.
But a subspace anomaly strong enough to cause a warp field collapse would leave graviton ripples for days.
Let's run with the momentary subspace variance theory for now. Roll forward to the shuttle's attempt to re-engage the warp drive. We need the conditions of space around the shuttle at the moment of warp failure.
Resuming simulation.
Error in warp field calculation. Cochrane formula variables are out of range.
That right there. Take the shuttle sensor data from that moment.
Computer, why did the warp field calculation fail?
Warp field pressure returned non-orthogonal. Results are undefined.
That doesn't help.
Wait, what if we use a different ship?
Put the Resolute into the simulation instead of the shuttle.
Yeah, it should warp just fine. Unless... Computer, run the simulation with the Resolute.
Resolute simulated.
Computer, give me manual control on the warp power.
Static field intensity, warp 1.1. 1.2. 1.3. Warp pressure is destabilizing. Error in warp field calculation. The warp drive has experienced a system-wide cascade failure. Warp field collapsed. Subspace variance is out of tolerance. Cochrane formula results are undefined.
Bingo.
What-o?
The same moment when the shuttle failed to warp, so did the ship. Whatever happened to the shuttle just happened to us. The Resolute will not sustain warp.
We can't leave Hotari space.
Ambassador Spock, Captain Solano, welcome to Hotari.